The first time since Calvin has retired, outside of a few appearances, that he's been openly, publicly involved and willing to support the team.
In years past, when players wanted to mentor younger players, guess what? The Lions wouldn't let them do it. They said, that's nice, but no, we're good.
Under Dan Campbell, clearly it's a very accepting culture. The way Sheila has conducted herself, or at least how she's presented herself, is, this is something they would accept. And who wouldn't want Calvin freaking Johnson? Calvin Johnson said he'd be more than happy to mentor Jameson Williams, a Detroit Lions rookie wide receiver. Terry's really the first time since Calvin has retired, outside of a few appearances and the conversation of maybe getting his money back, that he's been openly, publicly involved and willing to support the team. I find it interesting.
Bygones
be bygones, right?
Bygones. But let me say this. Let's see if this is a different. We always talk about the Lions are different. If the Lions are different, they would actually let him do that. In years past, when players wanted to mentor younger players, guess what? The Lions wouldn't let them do it. They said, that's nice, but no, we're good. So this is a test to see if the Lions are actually different. I think Dan Campbell would allow him to do it, but I'm telling you, the Lions coaching staffs of the past would not let their players touch their younger players. And I think it was a huge mistake.
So one of the things I've noticed with Dan Campbell, just from obviously yesterday's opening day for media day, I would say more relaxed. I know you look back at last year, right? You go through the archives. You look at some of the stuff he was saying, all the newsworthy things that were coming out of his mouth. He was a quote machine, right? Yeah. This year, super relaxed, more comfortable, I would say, in the job. I would say he has more of a feel for what's around him, how to control it. I like how Dan Campbell's speaking going into the season. Much better than last year.
I'm not sure if that's true. I think we're just more accustomed to him. I think Dan Campbell, when he came out in a blaze of glory, and we were like, we've never seen this before.
I would say yes, but the thing to consider is you had the venti, you had the eyes wide open, you had all this, and it seems like it's now more about get up to the podium, bring the energy that we have seen him bring always, but now in a way where he's, I would say, a more polished speaker at the podium. Much different than last season. Much different. So with Calvin Johnson, I think it's a non-issue. With maybe prior staffs, absolutely. I don't think this happens. Under Dan Campbell, clearly it's a very accepting culture. It's a very everybody together kind of situation they have going on at Allen Park. So,
I don't know why you would not allow Calvin Johnson to touch the whole wide receiver room if he's willing to do that.
Well, if your name is Matt Patricia, you probably wouldn't allow that.
But this goes back before Matt Patricia. Yeah, he's probably the king of, no, don't touch my players.
I think it would have been a no with Marinelli.
It was a no with Marinelli.
It would have been a no with Morningwig. It would have been a no with almost any coach, I think, maybe outside of Fonts, but even Fonts I don't think would allow it. Your thoughts?
Fonts would allow if it was someone like Joe Schmidt. But I'll tell you, Lomas Brown, best lineman in Detroit history. He wanted to help mentor the tackles. All right? So the Lions actually first said yes. They got him coaches' shirts. They got him a bunch of stuff where basically Lomas was going to be a pseudo assistant coach working with the offensive lineman. Then they changed their mind. So Lomas was like, well, I'm willing to do this. I cleared out time. So you know what he did? He called up the New York Jets, and they allowed him to mentor DeBrickasaw Ferguson. So he mentored the New York Jets tackles when he wanted to do that for the Detroit Lions. But the Lions said no. So that's why I'm curious, are they actually going to allow Calvin Johnson to do this if he wants to? I would believe this coaching staff would say yes.
And I believe the front office, the way it's set up, and the way Sheila has conducted herself, or at least how she's presented herself, is, yeah, this is something they would accept. And who wouldn't want Calvin freaking Johnson mentoring? Like, that is a great thing. I think the tricky part, and I think he would probably bring to the table, he's an underappreciated route runner, in my opinion. I think he gets enough credit for his ability to run routes, but
because he's so big.
Because he's so big, it's like a lot of the times it looked like backyard football with him, chucking it down the field, him going up over 2-3 people. But Calvin was super polished. His slants were, I would say, as good as anybody when he was playing. So learning from Calvin is an honor. I mean, some of the things you just can't learn from him, like size, right?
No.
That athletic ability. The same with Barry. Barry can't teach you how to run. But you know what he can do, Terry? He can maybe help you with your vision, right?
Right.
What you're seeing,
Where to
which
look.
gap to hit, right? So that's...
He can teach you when you get the ball, what you're looking at. Because Barry Sanders had the disadvantage, and whenever he got the ball, he had to make a cut right away. Because there was always somebody in his grill, and so he had to shake that guy off and then do his runs. So, but Barry, yes, he could talk to you about vision. He could talk to you about a lot of things. He could also talk to you about losing yards, because he lost like 1,000 yards rushing in his career.
Basically, how Patrick Mahomes is running around in the backfield in the Super Bowl is what Barry had to do on a consistent basis.
Right.
Sometimes for the betterment of the team, sometimes not so much.
Well, it resulted in the Lions having so little faith in him
In the red zone.
that
That's
when
right.
they got, it wasn't just the red zone. When they got inside the 10-yard line, they'd take him out the game.
I remember. You told me this. And he averaged like 1.4 yards or 1.7 yards for his career. Something ridiculous inside of the 10. Like, that is something. Just ineffective. And a lot of what has to do with running at the goal line is just hitting your gap, right? Hitting the hole that's available to you. Barry is so accustomed, and I think it was actually smart of the Lions. Barry was always so accustomed to first step, second step, outside, bounce, bounce, bounce. It was never, I'm running right through this hole, typically because it was never there, right?
And even if it was there, he would say, you know what, I'm not taking this.
And he never needed to, right? He could make every defender miss on the field at one time if he chose to. It was ridiculous. He had that ability. So I think Calvin for the Lions is a good thing. I think it's good for the relations in the building. Glad to see that's developing. But I want to go back to Dan Campbell for a little bit. I really have seen, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but a huge difference in how he speaks. He's a much better speaker now. And look, does that mean he's going to go out and showcase his unbelievable gifts as a coach? Who knows? I hope so. Would love to see him be successful, but I don't have that information in front of me, Terry. What I do have is a guy who now has speaked in front of the public, in front of the media multiple times. And I would say really reminds me of some of the better communicators in football, not from a coaching talent standpoint, but just from communicating. Reminds me of some Sean McVay, right? That enthusiasm, that charisma, that energy he brings to the podium. When he's at the podium, everyone else is upright, ready to go. Like, all right, here we go. Dan's up, Sean's up, here we go. Andy Reid's up, here we go. He has that. He has that aura. Now, whether that translates onto the field, we'll see. But I do like from a speaking perspective, especially because of last season, I think he's much more polished. Could be experience, could be more comfort. I think both align with each other.
Well, in professional sports, your first year, everything is always rocky. You're doing things for the very first time. And so it's not going to be as smooth. When you do something 3, 4, 5 times, when you go back into that circle or that calendar year, the next year when you speak or when you want to say something, you're going to be better. Because supposedly the Lions should have had somebody mentoring him about being at the podium. Now, does it result in wins and losses? No. But it reduces the embarrassing statements. It reduces the Lions looking like a clown show. And that means a lot to the Lions. So I'm sure somebody put a little polish on Dan Campbell. But I also think we've seen this before. So yes, we have.
Which coach?
Dan Campbell. I'm saying last year when he said something crazy, we were like, ooh, God, listen, Dan Campbell, this guy's different. But now we've grown accustomed. I still think he's a little raw. I still think
which isn't a bad thing.
No, it's
necessarily.
Not. It's sincerity. He's real. And I'd rather have that than some guy going up there and says, oh, yes, hey, how you doing? We're a good ball club, and we're ready to go.
You know, I definitely prefer him over a lot of speakers and coaches and how they operate, especially from a media standpoint. But even with Calvin, right? You want to talk about just on-the-field support. What about off the field? Was there a better off-the-field example? Hell, you had 3 of them. Your 3 best draft picks ever were all tremendous off the field. Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford. Never, not even a word during the offseason, during the week, leading up to the game. Never, not a thing. You got professional, high-level performance week in and week out.
That is true. The Lions were really high on character, and with those 3 guys, it hit. But sometimes in the National Football League, you need to have guys of low character. And they passed on people who probably, may have gotten in trouble, but would have helped the bottom line. And, and I think the prime example of that is Randy Moss. Could have had him. Then they lied and said, well, we didn't take him. Well, at least they lied to me, said, Ron Hughes said, well, we didn't take him because of character issues. We didn't take Randy Moss because he had alligator arms. And I'm like, come on, dude, really?
You're joking.
I'm not joking. That's what he told me. At the Silverdome, there was a kitchen, and the media would go in there, the coaches would go in there, and sometimes we would just talk to coaches and front office people. And then after the draft, when they selected Terry Fair, Ron Hughes was a guy who's a player personnel guy that I really respected and stuff. I'm like, dude, why didn't you take Randy Moss? He said, T. I said, is this character bull crap that you guys always? No, that wasn't it. You're gonna notice this. He's got alligator arms. When he goes over the middle, he's like this. He doesn't want to get hit. He's not gonna catch the ball, and said he's a talented receiver, but that's why they decided not to take him. Instead, they took a guy, Terry Fair, who's supposed to be a character guy, and he hurt his arm. They said he hurt his arm because he slipped in his driveway and broke it. Lots of people who go to nightclubs in Detroit will tell you he got pissed at some woman at Legends, which is a nightclub downtown Detroit, punched the wall and broke his hand. So you can believe whatever you want. That's the story on the
These motherfuckers guy. Really passed on Randy Moss because of alligator arms.
That's what he said.
I hope. Is he alive today?
He is alive.
What's his name
Ron
again?
Hughes is with Pittsburgh.
Ron Hughes, go fuck yourself.